Ben always said, with great power comes great responsibility. So what's up to all the Spider-Man dem? It's your boy, Blacksby, aka Spider-Man, aka Hobie Brown, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinestro-Verse. I'm here with your boy, Oscar Isaacs. I'm not even gonna read that one.
Jesus Christ, trying to get this demonetized.
You can imagine what Luis has placed on here to disturb my eyes. And then I'm here with Earth 69420. And we're coming here with a guest feature from the one and only David Johnson of BackstageOL, dropping into grace us with his presence as we discuss, if you can't already tell, the one and only amazing, incredible, spectacular Across the Spider-Verse. Now in theaters, greatest film of all time. If you think not, argue with your mom, argue with the cat, argue with the dog. I don't care.
Mom, come here.
Along with that, we're going to be talking about Transformers Rise of the Beast and our expectations for that film. But before we get into that, we need y'all to Hulk smash that subscribe button and that like button so you don't miss out on the best podcast across the Spider-Verse. See what I did there?
Nice.
See what I did there?
Yeah.
The
little bit lukewarm.
Master segue guy.
Across the web of Destiny.
Across the web.
There you go.
That one didn't hit. That one did that one. Did that one hit the spot?
Across. I hate you so much.
Y'all knew it was coming. Off the dome. I'm wearing the do-rag today because, I had a for the
Spoiler
culture.
alert, spoiler alert.
I should have my do-rag under
Would
this
the
beanie,
Spider-Man from Web of Shadows have helped Miles?
Yeah.
Which ending?
Yeah.
Which ending version?
The good one.
Oh,
the more better
good one.
ending.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
The more gooder ending.
Not the black suit one. He did not give a fuck.
Whoa, not the African-American suit one.
Oh, yeah.
Please, AZ, relax.
Sorry.
Sorry.
You know how many Spider-Man-dem is too many to count. I think we should just start from the top of the movie, diving back into touching on what happened in, I don't know, what's the timeline of this, by the way? Who's got the deets on the timeline? Where is this? This is a year after? A year and a half after?
16 months.
16 months?
Yeah, because he said, because Miles said it's been 16 months since like he legitimately said, so it's a year and some change that it's been since the first one.
A year and 4 months.
So we're looking at he's been Spidey. Do you want to
do spoilers and then non-spoilers, or do you just want to go into it? I'm
gonna tell people right now. Look, you've had enough time. The embargo is
put a spoiler wall. Yeah,
we'll put a spoiler wall. This is your free one and only free spoiler warning. From here forward, once we get into this discussion, you're going to be subject to all types of spoilers. I'm not responsible for what happens to you if you hear those spoilers. That's on you.
Yeah.
You should have seen the movie by now. I've seen it 16 times in 2 days. not even enough hours.
Just mute and then come back. Like, we still want the watch time.
Exactly.
Just mute and then come back when we're talking about Transformers.
Exactly.
Transformers.
Let me see.
I'm going to get into that later.
Let's start off the bat by asking the most important question of them all. Was Across the Spider-Verse better than Into the Spider-Verse?
Yes.
No.
Better than Endgame. Better than Spider-Verse. Better than every film Scorsese's ever made. Better than cinema. Better than life. Better than pussy. It was better than almost everything I've ever seen. And I haven't even seen that last one. So you know for a fact that I'm saying this wholeheartedly.
All right. Matt? Really? Right. Mm-hmm. Wow. Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting to hear you say that, David, because a lot of the stuff that I've been listening to or reading, a lot of people seem really upset about the fact that it was so Gwen heavy and so focused on Gwen's story. But I'm of the same thought process as you, that I think it was the development that Gwen's character went through, and kind of the showing us a little bit of her life and her past and her relationship with her father, and kind of what it's like back on her world, and how lonely she is as well. I thought that was so important to the theme, just the core themes of the movie, to Miles as a character, and to the rest of the entire characters in the movie. I just thought it was an amazing way to start off the film, and I think they did a good job.
And to tack on to that, I also am in the same camp of loving the fact that this is not only a Miles centered story, because it is still very much his movie, right? He was the main focus of the first one, right? And pretty much a good focus of the second one, right?
Yeah.
And so what I think is, even a lot of people that are in that camp of the complaint of, oh, I don't like that this is a Gwen story as well. She had the most, next to Peter and his whole arc, because there was a dual wield story aspect in the first one of it being both Peter's story and Miles' story, right? Because Peter went through that whole character arc of finding out that he's ready to be a father, that he can embrace his future and find a life with Mary Jane, and be happy as Spider-Man, and also mentor Miles, who found the courage to be his own type of Spider-Man. But on top of that, Gwen, when they're doing like the whole recap, the whole comic book thing of like, let's do this one more time, even though they do it like several times, right? Gwen's had the most lingering on it, right? Like Peter's was just go in perspective. But when it tells Gwen's story about, she's like, and now I'm all alone. Like when she's talking about how Peter died, how it shows her like holding his body, like it went really into depth, setting up how they were going to approach the story in the sequel. So if it was out of nowhere, I would understand, some aspect of that complaint. But I don't really see there being a major basis for that when it's been just a pattern that they've set from the first one.
I think it also has to do with the fact that it's two movies split into it. It's one big long movie split into two parts, essentially.
Exactly.
And I think that people's complaints about this focusing too much on Gwen or whatever, I think a lot of those complaints are going to be subdued come March, or when is it, May of next
year? It's March
29th, 2024. I am there.
The day
297 days.
Just to say this now, I want y'all to know this now. You heard it from me. That movie ain't. That movie is not coming out now.
That's coming out June 7th, 2025.
It is going to be 2025. Probably like this time, like summer or fall 2025.
Like I'm gonna have kids and a mortgage by the time it comes out, man.
They haven't, like several people haven't even recorded lines of dialogue for the next movie.
Haley Steinfeld hasn't even recorded lines for the next movie.
I would wish.
She's too busy porking Josh Allen right now.
It took him 5 years to go from the last one to this one. Take all the time you need.
Yeah.
You see the way the spot moves in this movie? Take all the time you need, man.
We gonna get into that later.
Did it take them 5 years because
that's the next?
It was supposed to come out during the pandemic, and then that happened and it got pushed back. And then they're like, "Well, it's kind of weird because people are going to move." Did it take them so long because of the pandemic, or is that just how long it took them to? It's a mix of make both. The film.
Yeah,
it's primarily animation just takes long because one of the cool things. So I hosted a screening at Edwards, the big one downtown. Don't go right now because it's all under construction and they're fixing it. So it's just like, just wait until it's done and it's going to look amazing. But one of the interesting things is that Daniel Kaluuya's Hobie Brown, right?
My goat.
His character is animated 4 or 5 different ways, singular, compared to other people. And so they usually, they usually animate on 1s, 2s, and 3s for specific people. And that's why Miles wasn't the same frame rate as Peter and them in the last one to show him working to get to that level. But Hobie Brown's guitar, his hair, and his shirt are all animated at different levels. And so it took 2-3 years just for that character. And then you got all the stuff with the spider people. And it's like, listen, you do what you got to do to make it look. If the next one is even like minimum as good as Beyond the Spider or Across the Spider-Verse. I'm not complaining.
Like,
I don't know
if
how
you
true,
look at
I was gonna say, I saw this tweet. I don't know how true this tweet is, but I saw a tweet that said that the part of the movie where the Spider-Men or Spider People are chasing Miles on the train towards the end of the
Miguel
movie, that took 4 years to animate.
Yeah. Each one of them is a different art style and frame rate.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
All of Miguel's catching and slamming. Imagine doing the frames for that, and then Miles is glitching on top. Like, of course, it took like 3 years for each frame. I don't say no. I'm like, absolutely. If you need 5 years for this movie, go ahead, man. We be all right. We wait.
And like, what I really find fascinating is like most of the details that I've heard of, like from different characters or like 4 different characters in different scenes. Right? There's like small little nuggets that like I've heard in other people's reviews that I thought back and I was like, oh my god, they did do that, and I just didn't notice it. Because the whole movie, like every single frame, even the smear frames of the animation, I wanted to take out my phone and just take a picture and have it as a wallpaper.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Yes.
Beautiful. Like
artistic painting.
The way that I think this movie is probably my favorite, and not only the way that it does, like, you know, visually an ensemble cast, but also how it does like acting wise an ensemble cast, because there's plenty of animated films that have ensembles, right? Several Disney movies, like all the Toy Stories, right? Plenty of animated features have ensembles, but a lot of the characters end up being very one note, very surface level. They don't have any depth to them, right? And if they try to go into depth, right, like if a movie's overstuffed with a whole bunch of characters, like Endgame and Infinity War. Love those movies, but had we not had the past films to set up those characters, it would have been overstuffed and oversaturated. Spider-Verse managed to get all of these characters. I think at a time within the main cast, it has like maybe like the original one you had Spider-Ham, you had Penny Parker, you had Peter, Miles, Gwen, and Spider-Man Noir. So that was 6 Spider-Men it was juggling, and it made each one of them memorable and fun. This one has almost all of those, even if it's for a few seconds, but it also has like new Spider-Men and Spider-Women, just Spider things that it introduces, because one of them's a fucking T-Rex. Right.
And a cat.
Well,
that was
awesome. It goes back.
The cat. Yeah.
It goes back to what basically has become our catchphrase at this point, which is just let people who care about the source material and care about the story they're trying to tell like make good shit.
Exactly.
Hire good people to do good shit, and they're going to do it. They're going to cast good people. They're going to want to work with good people. You'll probably end up getting a product that is good.
Yeah, and with this, I was more so impressed not only by the visuals, but just by the fact that they managed to get all of these different characters and present them in a way that even I, a person who has been reading comics for like almost over 20 years, can look at the screen and not just have the whole film carried by, oh, hey, look, it's that guy from that thing. Like, you know, how it was in No Way Home, how it's just like, oh, yeah, it's the thing from the other thing. This does not do that. It does not linger on like little things, like heavy spoiler if you decided not to listen to Matt's warning at the beginning of this recording. They do. Oh, Luis, by the way, you said it wasn't going to happen. They did an MCU connection. They did.
We'll talk about that later.
They did two.
I didn't say it wasn't going to happen.
I feel like you said something along the lines of, no, they wouldn't hand over Sony.
The only beef we have, the only bet we've got going on is that I say Craven's going to be good and you don't think so. That's it.
Oh,
Other than that, we're not arguing about it. Other than that, we're not arguing about anything.
But I was very, very concerned about that, because I was like, this movie's already got so many moving parts to it, so much different animation and art styles I have to juggle, going and exploring all of the different universes. And then
stacked up.
And I was wondering, like, how are they going to be able to fit, even because I heard rumors about it. I didn't know that they were confirmed until I had seen the movie, that there were MCU connections in this. Yeah, they made 3. And the way that they do it is not like when they introduced Andrew Garfield and Toby in No Way Home, where they give you that pause of silence for the audience to cheer for 30 minutes, right?
That was better, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just like, hey, this happened. All right, hey, focus. We got shit to do. Come on, keep it moving. Keep it moving. And that was perfect. Like, Spectacular Spider-Man ended over a decade ago. We had no conclusion to that at all. And then they're just like, oh yeah, Captain Stacy died. Okay, deal with it. Move on. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? You're not gonna explain? No, just going? Okay, cool. And that's what I liked. At 2.5 hours, this was not a light jog. This was not walking, sauntering, or just being sluggish. This was go.
Well,
the whole time.
Hot take. Was the movie too long?
No.
Did they have trimmed off some fat? Was it a little too overstuffed?
Let me say why no. Unless Matt, you go first and I'll go.
Yeah.
All I was gonna say is that this was the perfect length of film, you know, for this type of movie. I watched Air back in April. April, was it? If that movie had been 2 hours, I probably would have been like, walked out.
Yeah.
It was great though. It was great. The length was great. That was a good
movie.
film. Now you got Guardians that we watched right after that. Perfect time to do a 2-hour movie. Anything else? Any other film other than, like, you know, Spider-Verse? Any story that's gonna have the audience, you know, locked in for the whole movie? You can't do anything past 2 hours, past 1 hour 50 minutes, something like that. You know, I liked this film because it gave us enough time to, even though we know we're getting a follow up to it in 5, 6, 7, 10 years, who knows? Even though we're getting that follow up in the distant future, it gave us time to really grasp these characters and build a connection with them in those 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Like I said, Spider-Man, Hobie Brown, my goat, Spider-Punk,
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, you know, shout out to Spider-Man.
I could see, because I had seen the quote unquote complaint that it was like, it was long. And I'd seen it from like people that I've seen in the space that I'm like, interesting, before I'd seen the movie.
Right.
And one of the things that I really enjoyed when I watched the movie is that I noticed what they probably thought as too long as I'm watching the movie. But to me, it was emotional, like, investment.
Yeah.
I think that this movie does a little better than the last movie. Where, so, like, entire scene with Miles and Gwen swinging and the whole upside down world, let's sit, talk, and chill. That a previous movie would have cut that scene by like 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. This movie does the thing where they just sit and talk, and it lets you sit in that moment and be like, let's just like feel this relationship kind of grow and wane and ebb and flow in the conversation that they're speaking, so that you feel every, like, you know, in every universe, Gwen Stacy falls for Spider-Man, and then in every universe, you're hanging on their words, and so you're just kind of like, and then the scene like switches. You're like, oh dang, I wanted to stay there for another like 5 minutes. Like, y'all keep talking. This is fun, and I think that's what some people who don't want that ultimately are like, oh, it's a little long. Like the stuff with Miles and his mom Rio, with the conversation they had under the water tower. And then the conversation they had at the end of the movie where it's a little like all of that stuff in previous movies or other movies, they would cut that scene by 45 seconds to a minute. But in this one, you're kind of like, Miles is like, Mom, I beat them all. I'm in a movie theater like, yeah, let her know. I took them all out. Like you're in the moment.
She was like, what is he talking about?
And like you're in the moment and you're like, yeah, I feel like I'm going on the ride. So I see where like people, oh, it's a little long.
No,
but
what you're saying.
So to me, like, I don't mind long movies when you're inundated with so much stuff that you're just kind of sitting and thinking.
When the
like Dune did a really good job of that. Dune was like, boom, you're here. Here's the Maud Deeb. Here's these weird sand people. Here's the spice. Here's the weird dude talking with his voice robot, and you're like, okay, look at that. Look at, like, you're in it, and you're kind of. There's different between like being long for no reason and then being long as you like stay in the story. And I think this one did a really good job of, it's longer than I thought it would be. But when you watch it and the movie ends the way it does, you're like, it's over. And that's when you like, that's how you know you did your job the right way. When it's kind of like,
Did y'all know, random, but did y'all know, speaking of long, eternal movies, Avatar: The Way of Water just hit Disney Plus. I will not be watching it in one sitting because I got things to do. I got too many.
I saw Avatar. I saw The Way of Water. Or I saw it in 4DX and I had a blast.
It was great, trust me. But we were talking about long movies. I was like, bro, I'll see.
It is. Yeah.
1 hour's worth of film was them swimming. I was like, please, I get it. It's called The Way of Water for a reason. Do I need to see them doing Spider-Man? Do I need to see a spider biting people for 1 hour to know it's called Spider-Man? I would walk out the theater. I'd be like, you've lost the plot.
Speaking of spiders and spider
segue.
Well, I was about to say, do you want to do it like by character, like your highlights of the characters in the movie, or you want to do?
Yeah, that's how I was going to try to break this down, because like I noticed that if you take all the multiversal stuff out, right, all of it, just wipe it away, it is at its heart a story about a kid with the weight of the world on his shoulders, just trying to get the girl he wants to fall for him. And also live up to those great expectations, just like he was in the first film. Because in the first film, right, if a film like Spider-Verse was like the first one was just its own film, right, it would just leave it that and be like, yeah, he goes on to be Spider-Man, he does all these great things, right? But you see, even after a year, he's still learning. What's up, Luis?
I was gonna say, but even that, I think it's too broad. I think it's just about a kid just like doing his best, just existing.
Yeah, exactly. It's
and that's what it is. It's so simple. It's so stripped down, and it's so because everybody can relate to that. Everyone can relate to being a kid.
Exactly.
And just doing your best and feeling overwhelmed and feeling like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders, and yet having, feeling like you can't turn to anybody. You can't go to your parents. You can't go to your mom. You have no friends. You can't turn to them. And yet, and so I think that's. I like that part about Miles in this movie a lot more than I liked in the first movie. I loved him in the first movie. Thought he was a great character, but I thought he was just so. I just thought that experience is so real and it's so human, and I thought that was a great launching off point for Miles in this movie. We see him, and he's just like I don't know what to do. I'm so overwhelmed. The world is literally caving in on itself, right? And it's just him trying to do his best, trying to be a good son and a good student and a good person and a good Spider-Man. And I think that's the heart of the story. That's the heart of his story. And I don't know. I just thought. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to get.
You're all good. You're good.
It's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
What I saw so the second go around, what I really went was like, and not only is it about Miles, it's about the parents trying to pivot and be better parents and learning like, oh, I have to, like when you gotta spread his wings, let him fly. Yeah. Like it's like them realizing that, like this. It's them realizing that the way I parented for a couple years, it worked, but he's growing.
Yeah.
So I need to grow too. And I'm watching this movie the second time, I'm like, these men are brilliant for making this story that is just like, like if you took out all of the costumes, the story, whatever, you're just getting a story about
it's a good human
kid
story
trying to explore his life and parents trying to parent better and be better people.
And that's my main point, because in a world that we live in where we're so oversaturated with not only comic book films but films that try to go out and be like giant think pieces, whole thesis statements, or like the Marvel films, as much as I love about 75% of them, because I will say I've reached fatigue at this point. There is so much Marvel stuff that in order to get one movie, right, there's rarely a single Marvel there's rarely a single Marvel project you can watch solitary. I guess the closest one you could get is maybe if you just do the 3 Guardians movies. You don't have to have a whole bunch of background for that. You can just have that sweep over your head and just enjoy them, because James Gunn is pretty concise with this filmmaking. But really, you have to do a whole bunch of research and homework, is my point.
But that's
the Winter Soldier in there real quick. Slide that one under there.
Exactly. And with all these giant, comic book plots, right? Even if the story has at its level, at a certain level, a base meaning, it gets lost in all of the craziness and fantasy that's going on. And this movie, the entire time, managed to keep, even though it was all that multiversal stuff, I guess it was more so because it didn't linger on it as much, right? It just kept on having it happen in the back. No. I mean, like with certain shots that had like connections to like MCU things and how other things would have like paused around that, been like, hey, do you remember this guy? like really heavily inundated on that, right? Like put it in full focus, right? This movie kept all of that craziness going on in the background, but still kept the story of Miles and his family at the forefront, which is an amazing amount of narrative depth, not only just for an animated film, because animation does get a lot of flack, because mostly when you see in-depth animated films like that, right, they're usually either an indie production or it's like over a long animated series like a TV show, or it's in an anime, right? And even though those are good, no one's really going to a full theater regularly to see that. But for Spider-Verse to not only in its first movie completely reinvent the medium of animation, but to become so many people's favorite movie and also keep that same continuous narrative intact, that same narrative focus amongst all of the comic book hecticness and craziness, it is a feat in itself, in my eyes. That is incredible. And I didn't even notice until David pointed it out that the parents also have their own character arc. Like, everybody in this film does not have wasted time. Everybody serves a purpose. Even the fodder Spider-Man that literally just show up, get beat up by Miles, and flow off that train, right? They serve a purpose. Even though they're just a physical obstacle that he has to overcome, they have a purpose in the narrative. And it is amazing that juggling all of these moving pieces, the film manages to stay consistent. And I think that's also in part benefited by that 2.5 to 2 hour runtime that it has. Because any seconds longer would have been too much, and they would have had to just add filler, right? Any seconds shorter would have not been as cohesive. But to get into, but speaking of the characters, man, I say we all go down the list and just name our characters that were the highlights of this.
Name like,
all right, Matt,
name five. Name five of your favorite. Just list them
name
off.
Five. I'm gonna start with Luis, because by his name, I already know
we know which one his number. Yeah, we know which one is on his list.
Luis, go ahead and hit it with your number one, buddy.
I'm not gonna give you my number one. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of Miguel O'Hara, obviously.
Couldn't tell.
I'm a huge. I do think, though, if we're talking about characters, I think that he, and this is me being selfish and being hypercritical, and I'm obviously wrong, but I do think he was underutilized and underserved in this film just a little bit, and I think that is a symptom of the fact that it's a part 1 to a part 2 story.
Yeah,
and I
he's
think
going to do more.
His role is going to be a lot larger in the next movie, and I know he's going to do the turn, and he's going to be on. I get it. I understand.
So you're like, verdict's still out, basically.
Yeah. I understand how storytelling works, and I understand that that's the arc he has to go through. I just wish, selfishly, that I just think he's such a cool character. I think Oscar Isaac is such a great performer, and I think he was acting his ass off in this film. That I just would have liked to see more of Miguel O'Hara, but that he's obviously one of them. Hobie Brown, I think, was fantastic.
I say something about Miguel real quick, because you just triggered a thought? You say he's so cool, and my mind was like, bro, remember how Batman Beyond came out and we're like, this is freaking cool. This is just so cool.
Imagine a Batman Beyond movie like this.
We need a Miguel O'Hara show like Batman Beyond, him doing crazy cool stuff. Like, if you look at the comics, bro.
Yes, but I want a Terry McGinnis Batman Beyond movie in this style.
Yes,
please.
Plus the mix of how they did like the club scenes and everything from back then.
With the blue light, the blue and orange light, people were like,
could you imagine?
Cyberpunk.
Anyway, sorry, continue.
That you just triggered a thought. You know, DC, send us the money, send us the plug bag right there.
Yeah, I think Hobie Brown, Daniel Kaluuya, again, I think in the same ilk. Fantastic character, fantastic actor. I wish there was more of him. Every second he was on stage was phenomenal, from his animation to his acting. I really like
stage.
Stage. Sorry.
No, you're right. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
He's a production.
You're not wrong. He's a rock star.
Life
he's
is
a rock
production.
star.
Yeah. And then I liked Gwen. I liked Spider-Man India. I thought he was hilarious.
Yes, Pavitr, my boy.
Yes.
I thought his
AKA Dupinder.
His costume was my favorite one in the entire.
It was great.
Oh yeah.
That upgrade from that disgusting Spider-Verse costume they had him have.
With the Aladdin,
the super
costume.
racially obvious, like, ooh, he's got Aladdin pants.
He's
like
got the Tanks pants going on.
Yeah, it was bad.
And then I like Metro Boomin's Spider-Man.
Metro cameo. I'm sorry, y'all. That's my bad.
But yeah, those were probably my 5 faves.
What about you, AZ?
Man, I'm gonna pick the ones that gave me the most whiplash, bro. Most of mine are background Spider-Man. I did not feel more of an absolute like slap to the dick, what the fuck moment than when I saw this is my number one, because I did not think they were ever gonna do anything with this man after the series ended. Spectacular. Seeing him on that screen and voiced by the best Spider-Man voice actor, the Kevin Conroy of Spider-Man.
Not Drake Bell. Not Drake Bell.
Not Drake Bell. Not Crispin Freeman. None of them.
Yeah, please no.
Pale in comparison to Josh Keaton, because his delivery, his personality of Spider-Man is so good that Greg Weisman, the creator of Spectacular Spider-Man the show, put him in Young Justice as an assassin character, Black Spider, who's essentially just Spider-Man if he was an assassin. And he says, would you like me to go about can't you just let me go about my web slinging way with the same cadence as Spectacular? Like, he never misses a beat. And then knowing that he is, for one, this movie takes every Spider-Man throughout media as opposed to like just the comics. It's like, if you've seen a Spider-Man on screen, whether that be video game, mobile, cartoon, TV show, movie, whatever, it is canon. So those are all the ones that exist within this realm of Spider-Verse, for any of you who are wondering from the comics. But for them to take a character that has not had a debut on anything within the past almost over a decade, right? Like, the most relevant thing of Spectacular Spider-Man is that they put the whole series on Disney Plus, which possibly due to his appearance in this, possible resurgence, fingers crossed. But for them to just put in the background with that explanation of a canon event is that Spider-Man meets a police chief that he's really close to, and that police chief dies, and they don't have it happen in the TV show before it ends, but they just say, yeah, after the Spectacular Spider-Man show ended, Captain Stacy died. I was, for some reason, fine with that explanation of that just being the end of the series. I was fine with that. That was pretty much all the catharsis that I needed. And just seeing Josh Keaton there, and the fact that for some reason Spectacular is like a little short King Goblin next to all of them.
That was really funny.
I was like, whose child is this? But I did like him. My other favorite background Spider-Man, he has like one line where he's like, did you mean me? When they talk about video game Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
Insomniac, I knew he was gonna be in there. Because there's even like a reference to him before the Spider Society part, where if you look closely on the TV when Genki's in his room, he's playing the Spider-Man PS4 game.
He's playing the new one.
Yeah, he's playing the new one.
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. I was like, dude, he's triangle circling. Holy shit! And they just
triangle circling.
They just had him in there, just in the background. Other favorite characters that I had of background Spider-Man, I really enjoyed the fact that in the weight training room, right, where all the different Spider-Men are working out, they have one doing the signature Jesus pose from Spider-Man 2, which I love how has just become so iconic and embedded within Spider-Man lore that he does it in everything. They had Marvel vs. Capcom Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, there's no fucking shot. They just put him in here. Wow. And then on top of those three, right, you had Spider-Rex, who debuted in the comics literally like 6 to 7 months ago for the Edge of Spider-Verse event, which I was like, wow, they're just throwing everything at the wall. And then while I was in the process for writing a script because I wanted to wait till the movie came out, and also I'm a lazy bastard, so I didn't start making the video. But I was going to make a video for my channel about all the Spider-Man within the Spider-Verse, and one of the ones that I found, because I wanted to do 616 versions, and because of this movie, since everything is canon, I can just cheese it, right? they had Sun Spider in there, which is the orange-suited Spider-Man that you see that's chasing Miles in the chair on the roof. She is probably one of the more interesting ones that I found. So for those of you who don't know, she is a Spider-Man from an alternate universe. She has, the same spider powers and abilities. However, she's paralyzed in her legs, so she's unable to walk. So her movement is tech-based. So she moves around in that wheelchair, has her gadgets, and she also, of course, has her signature webs and the quips and everything. She's a really cool character. I really like her. But if I had to pick just one main Spider-Man that is my favorite part of this film, it is Gwen. It is 1,000% Gwen. Not even just like her opening monologue is amazing, right? Her interactions with Miles are amazing. Her conflict of how she has to be loyal to the Spider Society, which are using that utilitarian argument of, the needs of the many outweigh the few, right? They are willing to sacrifice so much and go about, having these terrible, terrible lives just so that their universes don't get completely wiped out. Like, they are willing to suffer that burden. And she's relatively new to this whole life, right? Of being, because Miles at first was like the rookie Spider-Man of the group. She was like trying to help mentor him and stuff. And she ends up becoming, the new rookie Spider-Man, so to speak, of this multiversal team. And she has to wrestle with that inner conflict that Miles had of these great expectations for her and how she's supposed to conduct everything. But she also has that loyalty to Miles because she doesn't want to see her best friend that she cares about most in this world feel hurt, that she feels like is also a result of her, because she doesn't want Miles to go and see the Spider Society. She doesn't want him in there or to know about the canon events that are supposed to happen in order to protect him, but also in order to, not expose the truth that she was keeping this from him the whole time. Like, even on the train scene when they're going back and forth, right? When Peter's like, I knew the whole time, we just needed to know how to tell you. He's like, I knew that's on me. I could have told you this when you first got here, right? And then he asks Gwen, did you know? And she says, I don't know. She's like, I didn't know. And then it lingers for just that slight bit where you're like, oh, she was out of the loop. And then she says, I didn't know how to tell you. And I was just like, wow, that is amazing. That is an
line
amazing.
Delivery.
Yeah,
line
delivery was flawless. And just the emotional weight that she has to carry is amazing. It's unmatched. Also, I'm gonna be honest, gonna be biased. Her universe looks the best. The moving backgrounds are so dynamic. I was about
to say that at the beginning, but my recording messed up, whatever. But that's basically part of my 5. Like, Gwen's
David
number 1.
Started glitching like he was in the Spider.
Gwen's my number 1. To be able to take her world from the comics that looks like that and to turn that into basically color palettes that reflect her mood in her conversation with her dad. And whenever he's closed off, his side of the screen is dark and her side of the screen is light. And when her dad is like trying to arrest her and you see the dark kind of split the light, like, I'm just like, it's like storytelling without saying any words. You knew everything that was going on, even if the audio cut out, you could tell what was going on and what was happening. And so her, for all the reasons you said, plus like the thing that just Miles and her are two people who have no friends, and you hear that in the way they talk to each other. You hear that in the way they're just like, I wish like I had people to talk to. Like, it's life is hard doing stuff like this, and it's like the simple small things that make you go like, yo. That's why I'm like, nah, I don't want to be Spider-Man, because life would suck. Like, absolutely. You can't tell anybody. You're always late to things because your life is busy. And so she's my number 1. My number 2, not really a hot take, but my number 2 are I'm putting both Rio and his dad together as one. The parents in this movie. From Rio having a conversation with him about like, I watched you, I raised you, but now you're turning into something I'm not ready for yet. And so I don't know how to let go. So I got to be willing to trust you and let go and be willing to do that. And then the other conversation he has with his dad and everything that's going with his dad becoming captain and him giving that toast, even though Miles isn't there, and having that conversation with, you got to let him spread his wings. And like all of that stuff with the parents, like, just learning like how do we parent and help this kid who's not a kid anymore. He's 15, 16, however old he is. He's not a kid. And so we got to give him room to grow. But if he grows, he's going to leave us, which is all Rio. And like, I'm going to Princeton. Princeton? Like, she lost it. It's just New Jersey, Ma. Like, I understand. That's why I love that. Those two. They're my number two. Obviously, Miles is number three. Amazing. I'm going to do my own thing. Like all of that stuff.
Yes.
All of that stuff was great.
I know we had Shamik Moore on the line. Hold up real quick. Yeah, Shamik Moore.
All that stuff was great. It was the lead in. One of my favorite parts of the movie is when the score changes, when they're doing the whole Web of Destiny thing, and he starts to put one and one together, and you hear the score kind of slightly pull up as he's like
crescendo.
So all y'all are cool with this, right? And he's like. Exactly how a black person would respond in that moment is so you all don't want it. So I'm just a crazy one all of a sudden. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's like a real reaction. I'm like, yes, that's how I would react in that moment. So y'all cool with y'all family members dying. I bet. Not me. You know, it's just a good reaction. Paviter, I mean, what can you say? The fact that they did he's only been Spider-Man for 6 months and he's the best.
He's amazing.
He's the best. I love it. The costume upgrade was amazing. Even using the I forget what the name of the device is. I don't want to butcher it.
Hold on, I got you.
Yeah, please look it up for me.
The bangle, right?
Using that as the thing to weave webs and use it.
God, that was so good, dude.
Was just like watching.
So they're just I thought in India they had like some particular name for them, but no, they're only just yo-yos. Just the yo-yo.
Okay, so just big, the giant yo-yos. Using that in his web constructs, right? And seeing him like save people with it, and you see how acrobatically gifted and how much better. You're like, oh yeah, he's like a legit Spider-Man. Because you saw that when Gwen was fighting in the first scene. You're like, all right, Gwen is out here. She know what she's doing. When you saw Paviter, you're like, oh, you you real Spider-Man. Okay, I got you. And then my number 5 is a Spot.
Yeah,
my number 5 is a Spot. To see him go from
Bagel Guy,
to see him go from Bagel Guy to Villain of the Week to arguably bigger than a Sinister Six level villain. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Avengers ain't doing shit to the Spot, man.
Like to see his progression and how you see the backstory, you see all that, it all makes sense, obviously. But then you hear like Jason Schwartzman did a really good job of. You hear it in his tone of voice from like, what are you doing here? But like, when I'm done here. But he does like he's warping and doing. I'm like, this is, and it's chilling because his theme is insanely creepy, and it's just like, yo, this is a villain. Like this ain't just a normal level. I can take care of this. His idea of like, what if I always love like with Spider-Man. Whenever Spider-Man does like science stuff, I love it.
Yeah,
because it's part of the nerd who he is. Like he just seeing Spot do the same thing because he was in Alchemax, he worked there.
Yeah,
to see him like, all right, but what if I did this? I made all these things and just seeing him put all that together and then realize I can be a bigger threat if I use my brain to kind of go this way. I'm like, yo, that's a villain right there, man.
I was thinking it's important to know that an MVP of the movie that none of us have mentioned yet, and I'm sorry I'm stepping on your toes, Matt, but I think would be Daniel Pemberton's score.
My gosh.
Was
and I thought his score for the first one was amazing. This one is next level.
That Prowler theme from the first one, jarring. The themes in this movie,
O'Hara's theme,
even
incredible.
The Shining Star.
When you see him the first time, oh God!
Like the Shining Star for
when
me
Bro
of his composition.
Was about to bite this man's neck. I was like,
I was so that should be me. He's like, that was if I had if I had to nitpick, that was my one, like knowing Miguel O'Hara and having essentially doing that whole injection because he needs it because the vampire thing. I really wanted him to bite Vulture, and then they pulled it back. I was like, they saving it for the second movie. Okay, I'm okay with that. So I was frustrated in the moment. I was like, do it. Bite that man.
Yeah, that's one thing I like though. Going back to like the characters being so in depth and well established, right?
Yeah.
When it sets up it doesn't necessarily set up Jessica Drew, the Spider-Woman.
Yeah,
because she basically just says her whole deal. She's like, yeah, I'm a spy, I have spider powers, and I have a baby, and I'm cool, right? That's her whole deal. That's pretty much all you really need to know. But with Miguel, it sets off right at the bat when he's about to bite Vulture. This man is willing to boom any nigga at a moment's notice. He does not care.
Instant, like, tone
Just like
setter
me.
for the movie. You go like,
he's like, look, bro, you either go in the machine or you going in this smoothie. Either way, bro, like, I'm eating today. Either way, I don't care.
This what did John, I always go back to John Bernthal doing so well as the Punisher. What did he do in the courtroom? Yeah, I kill him, and I liked it,
and I loved it, and I loved it. I'm just itching.
I do it because you don't have the guts to do it. Like, and it's like, you're not wrong. Like,
that's the energy Miguel has.
But I love it.
Yeah, but in reference to Daniel Pemberton's score, man, my ideal thing. Right, and even when I like just goof around and I'm making beats or I like try to like make music myself, right? My ideal thing I look for in a song is the drums, because to me percussion carries everything. Your melody can be cool, your fucking bass line can be just the greatest thing ever. You can have fucking Steve Vai shredding on that shit. I do not care if those drums are not hitting. I'm not caring, right? Every single like the moment. I knew from the comics that Gwen was a drummer, right?
Yeah. They brought her in on that band.
I did not know.
I was like...
Shorty must have had J.K. Simmons calling her slurs in the corner with the way she was drumming. That was insane to me.
She was going in.
I was like, keep cooking, Shorty. Keep cooking.
It's almost like you isolate that and pull everything else down. And as she's drumming, you get the story, and then you build this up in the background. It's like Pemberton knows what he's doing, man.
Absolutely.
It's filmmaking and storytelling in its like purest form, and like in the
exactly.
Everybody's firing on all cylinders. The writers are cooking. The directors are all on the same wavelength.
That's why the band example is the perfect, like,
exactly.
When Obi was talking about, like, the band is the perfect example of, like, everybody, when it works,
of what it takes
music
to make a movie like this. Exactly.
Exactly.
Every member of the band needs to pull their own weight. And if they're all on the same wavelength, same page, firing on all cylinders, you get this beautiful piece of music.
And you, it's often said, like, you can feel, the artist's emotions through their instruments or through their music. And it's not even just the monologue that captures Gwen's like essence of being, how she is, not only with the aftermath of everything that happened in the first film, but also everything that's happened in her own life with losing Peter, having her dad against her, not being able to tell him that she's Spider-Man, with all this inner conflict and turmoil. It's represented by how much more aggressive and passionate the drum beats start to get as she goes on. And then right when it finally says that she's just accepted the fact she's alone, she just crashes the cymbals in like one just immense glorious proclamation of like all her rage and all her fire just summed up with that one cymbal crash. And her friends are like, hey, Gwen, you good?
You all right?
Trying to like get, something out of her, because they can tell that something's wrong with her. But the audience already gets that clue. If they haven't even seen the first film, they can get that narrative monologues for that vocal representation as well as that audible one. And that's something that I noticed, and I was like, wow, right off the bat, this is going to be a good movie. But Matt, we still got to get your
top five.
Your top five, man. Almost forgot. Sorry, I trailed off about music for 30 minutes.
No, you're good. I love it. Love to see it. Top five, man. Since I had some time to think. My top five are definitely going to be Spider-Punk, Hobie Brown. He's the realest one. He was the realest Spider-Man in that whole...
PM.
I'm not a role model. I've been a role model. I was like, man, this is making me like British people now. Like, hold on.
Bro,
I'm sorry.
I mean,
I'm sorry to all our British fans. I've been sleeping. I was not familiar with your game, bro.
British people were real, bro. Like I wish
we're real, bro. We're real, bro.
You know what I got the second time around when I watched the movie? You know what I got? Was this whole like down with establishment thing? I hate the AM, hate the PM. The PM being the Prime Minister. I didn't catch that until the second time,
bro.
And I'm like, yo.
One of his lines is one of the funniest jokes in the whole movie when he says, "Oh, it's a metaphor for capitalism."
Yeah,
But whenever
what is that? It's a metaphor for capitalism.
Yeah,
and it has like a nonchalant, like just
Yeah, it's a metaphor.
And Mayday poop taking a crap on the establishment.
Yeah,
like, all of that stuff was
bro said kids. She said kids and anarchists. I was like,
yes, kids and anarchists. I was like, so many great lines, bro. That and
Daniel was
again.
Go
second time you notice him talking to Miles about like, are you sure you want to be a part of this? He's grabbing all of the equipment.
He's building the
room. Then if you watch the second time, and he's like taking stuff from him,
bootleg machine
to make that machine for later on. Because he already was like, I'm not down with this whole like, and we'll get into like the Web of Destiny stuff too. But I think like the reason why Miguel's secret unit of people. Because part of you is like, why are you all following him when he wilding like this? But then my reasoning when I thought about it was like, well, if Miguel is making his secret unit, and you see like what happened to Gwen, he's only going to select people he can control. I guarantee you, if you go to other Peter Parkers in the universe, they if you went to Tom Holland's Peter Parker or Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, they would also no, we ain't down for this.
If he went to Superior Spider-Man, ooh.
I think that's
I thought Superior was in there, right? Superior was in there.
He wasn't.
No, Superior wasn't in there. Not the Doc Ock Superior.
Yeah, because what Miguel's doing, right? How he's running the Spider Society is how Doc Ock ran his team during Spider-Verse. Yeah. Where he's just like, fuck it, kill him. Don't care. If the universe doesn't want to help us, we boom it. We don't care.
So Superior wasn't even it, bro. I'm sick to my stomach. My 3 emails.
What's the next one? What's the next? Who's your next couple? We missed it. My bad.
Yeah, you got
Hobie Brown.
I'm gonna run these next two quick because we've already had enough time with them. Miles and Peter B. Because Miles is Miles. That's the main guy. And then Peter B. I like his transition from all the way from Into the Spider-Verse up till this point.
Yeah,
seeing him have a happier life after being depressed for 90% of that first movie. It's great. It's good to see. It's good to see people doing good. With
seeing
Mayday,
him telling Miles like, like you're the reason I had a kid. Like all of this is because of you.
That made me smile so big.
That
I cried.
Got me,
I was like, man, this little thug here. I gotta like, come on back. Don't do that.
Get back in there.
And then he fucked it up when that watch went off.
Yeah,
he said,
and then his watch went off. You too. It's that whole like you are the one that's supposed to be like with all again line delivery. The delivery of the voice acting, man.
The acting is phenomenal.
Who's your last one?
That was 1, 2. I can't count. Spider-Man.
You did Spider.
Miles, Peter B. Dang, these last two. I mean, I love Miguel. Miguel's great. I want to see more. I want to see them dive into. I want them to what they did for Gwen, like at the beginning of the movie with the drum thing. I want them to start off in Spider-Man 2099 universe. Just do like
that would
his
make
deal.
sense. That would make the most sense.
And just have us be like, oh, this is why he's the way he is. Because in the comics, he had the whole injecting the all of that drug into him. Then talking about how they went to that machine and it spliced his DNA to 50% spider. So hence the fangs, hence him biting the fuck out of people. So
his dad being his arch nemesis.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff with him that's wild.
We need to see.
Also, let's talk about the go home machine. That joint was creepy.
The go home, bro. It looked like a spider. It looked like a spider. I was like, this is making me sick.
Nasty.
Making me sick, bro.
It looked like a torture droid from Star Wars, bro.
It just came out the side, and I was like, I'm not going home.
I saw a tweet that said Gwen Stacy was lying to Miles the entire movie, and Spider Bite knew him for 30 seconds. And was ready
and immediately
was like, I got you.
She was down for the cause.
Speaking of Spider Bite, that's my last favorite because Spider Bite was
she was great.
She's the other real spider person.
For 30 seconds too, she did that job.
She was about 30 seconds. She saw that man. First of all,
she said, do you know how many she's like, do you know how many white Peters I've seen? Do you know how many? I'm tired of it. We finally get a black man and y'all want to put him in a cage? No. Power to the people, and she pressed that button.
Plus, she was flirting like bro.
Nigga home.
She was flirting with bro.
She was like, there's a T-Rex, and I can't even see it black.
Also,
she's like,
Also, good job, Hobie, for pulling
my boy,
Miles' girl.
Teaching my boy.
Miles' girl.
Oh, yeah. He taught the Riz.
He got the Riz. Hobie got the Rizzler.
Man,
Spider Riz, Rizzer Punk.
What did he say? It's like you left your. What's a jumper?
So you left my chucks. He said, "Those my chucks." I was like, "Oh, they knocking boots, no. Bro."
When he said, "You left your toothbrush at my place,"
yeah.
I was like, "Oh,
that's
no."
all you didn't know.
Damn.
But then it's like what are it didn't bother me because I'm like they're bandmates. Like it makes sense if they're bandmates and it goes together with all the Gwen stuff. Like I'm like, I get it.
Bandmates. You know what they do in bands? You know what they do in bands?
They're bandmates.
They're bandmates.
Bands got groupies.
Oh no. That's what I mean by bandmates. Yeah.
But before we pass on from Spider-Verse, like we give our ratings and everything, I just want to point out, as the resident comic book enthusiast, you can't tell by these two, but we got the Batman and I got Spider-Man shit somewhere around here.
I see it.
But
I got curtains.
Oh yes,
curtains from
an antique enthusiast. I see. Yes. But I wanted to point out some of the comic book things that I noticed, which I found were really interesting. With the animation, right, with certain Spider-Man's movements, not only are they animated in different ways and like their art styles of the universes are in different ways, right? But I noticed with every single one, they have a very distinct movement style. Like it's the usual Spider-Man flair, right? But they all have movement styles that kind of correlate a little bit to their character, right? Miles does a little bit of like the swings that he learned from Peter with his own kind of, as IGN's expert reviewer put it, exaggerated swagger of a black teen. Right?
Who said that?
I'll never forget that video. I'll never forget that video.
Said that?
I'll send it to you after the recording.
It's one of the greatest.
I'm at a loss for words right now.
But he moves like that, right? Gwen, she's really big into music and really big into expressing herself. One of the biggest ways that she does that.
Not only that, it's like ballet too.
Yeah,
a lot of very precise
in this movie, you'll see that she has ballet slippers on, and that's because her movement style is Spider-Man flair, but with more of like a graceful swan-like style to it, right?
Just
you
like
have Peter. Yeah, you have Peter who's older and more experienced, right? He's not necessarily grizzled, but his movements are a little bit less smooth and fluid than the original Miles as Universe Peter Parker, who does all the Spider-Man swag with his own like loosey-goosey style. Peter's still a little bit rusty because he's been out of the game for a while in the first movie, so his is still a little bit, slower than that normal Spider-Man, but he does mimic his movements because he is a variant directly of Miles' Spider-Man. And then lastly, right, you have Spider-Man India and Miguel. India moves like a flagrant show-off. Everything he does is pageantry, and that is because he is one of the freshest Spider-Man, both in tenure and also in the fact that the man just drips.
Fresh.
He's fresh.
Got out the bed and said, "Just coconut oil."
Exactly. He's like just coconut oil, genetics, and rest.
And prayers.
That's all.
I would like to make an amendment. I said Spider-Bite, but also I want to slide in Spider-Man India because he was too fun. He was too much fun.
He was too fun. And then
when he saved the inspector and the inspector's daughter, I was like, you know what? I'm happy for you. I want to see a movie of him too.
Yeah.
Or at least Graham posted
blow the fuck up.
Graham posted a tweet. Shout out Graham. He posted a tweet about he wants like a Spider-Man India buddy cop thing, like Lethal Weapon. Them just doing fun stuff.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I'd love that.
Give it to me, yeah.
And then but lastly you have Miguel, right? With his fangs. Yeah, he moves feral. That's the best way to put it. Yeah, he moves a lot like a panther, essentially, like how you would expect. Yeah, like how would you expect like Black Panther or Predator to move? Exactly. He's the navy blue panther, right? So
Blue Garfield.
The way that he moves coincides with his character, ferocious, tenacious, ready to kill at a moment's notice, to do what needs to be done in order to survive, much like a predator that will go through the jungle and maul anything that he needs to in order to eat and survive. Miguel is willing to do that. He's willing to kill if it means that not only he survives, but the other universes survive and don't meet the same fate as the one he was in. So all of his movements, like you can tell even when he dives in, when he's fighting with Gwen, right? The way he lunges forward like this, it's kind of like this stance that a panther takes, right, as it's about to pounce, or like another big jungle cat, right? Every movement that he does, even when he jumps in the air, is claws out. It's very spread, kind of, even you can think of it like an eagle or a hawk, just very predatory, calculated, jungle cat-like movements. And I feel like that is probably one of the best details of this film, specifically for me as a comic book fan, because panel for panel, the way that they move in this movie is how I would see that in motion and what if I envision it in my mind. And it's very well captured. But yeah, that's it. I think we now move on to our ratings. I'm gonna give it a -3. Just kidding.
Bro,
just kidding.
I got one little throwaway that was in my head, was that one of my favorite things is the small, like there's usually like something really small that I take away from the Spider-Verse movies that is really good. So like the first one was Peter teaching Miles, and he went tap to web shoot, double tap to release. And that was something I was just like, I like. It's just something so small. It's like, this movie was nice. Him fighting Kel and the lady snitch when he left and you saw the word snitch in the house. Something really small that is still like, yes, that
when
moment's
the bagel
intense.
When the bagel hit the spot and it said bagel.
There's something that's like, yes, the moment is intense, but there's something little that's just like, that's Spider-Man. It'll give you that little moment of levity. The whole snitch and him leaving the bus had me rolling, bro. Anyway, continue. Ratings.
But I'm gonna give it to quote my hero John Wick.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 5 stars. 5 stars, and that's on a scale of 3 stars, because this movie, not only to make a little joke about the first one, right? I had great expectations for this. In no short terms, I had great expectations.
What you did there.
Right?
That's exactly what you did there.
And people were kissing the ground this earth walks on. Even the bitchless people on YouTube that have never smelled a woman within their radius in their life, they usually say a movie is woke, said this shit was woke and good, and that finally Hollywood did something right, which is amazing that the entire world has agreed this is a masterpiece. So going in, I had that mindset. And I gotta say, I'm a proud member of the sheeple, because this shit is amazing, sensational, spectacular, the ultimate Spider-Man movie and animated movie, and it is a perfect film for me. Perfect film, regardless of the ticket to be continued. Perfect. 10 out of 10, amazing. Sensational.
Would
recommend to everybody at gunpoint, even if they don't want to, bro.
At gunpoint, no.
Gunpoint. See this movie in theaters.
That's not a recommendation. That's a request.
That is a statement.
That's an order.
But yeah, see this movie in theaters. Don't deprive yourself of just waiting for it to be on streaming. See it on the big screen. It's amazing. Next person.
Luis, what you got
next? Or Luis?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it I think I'm probably the one who I loved it, but probably like is the hardest on it for whatever reason. I might just need a rewatch. I'll give it like a 8.5 to a 9. I think I just think it's so hard to fill in the shoes of the first movie, which did so much culturally, from a cultural standpoint, from a storytelling standpoint, and it's hard to fill those shoes that the first movie left.
Yeah.
And maybe once the third movie comes out and I can look at it as a trilogy, I'll look back on this movie with a lot more regard and a lot kinder than I have right now. But I just, it's a fantastic movie. It's phenomenal. It's a wonderful feat in storytelling and animation, and it's great. I just think I like the first one so much, and I expected so much from this one that I couldn't help but just be like, could have given me a little bit more. And like I said, once the third one comes out, I'll be like, this is phenomenal. But yeah, I'll give it like an 8.59. It's phenomenal, fantastic film.
Understandable. David?
I'm, after seeing it again, because I do it twice, there are two things that I came away with this movie. I was like, this movie's a 10 to me, a 10 out of 10, 1,000 out of 10, number one, because knock on wood, 5-10 years down the line, my kids will only know this Spider-Man.
Yep.
They will only know Miles Morales.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if because I'm not half Latino. That doesn't matter. They'll see him and look, oh, this is Miles Morales. That's going to be their Spider-Man. Especially the way this trilogy is going. They're not, who is that white guy? We'll get to him later. Look at Miles. He out here. He flipping. He out here.
They're gonna have to reintroduce Peter Parker in like 2039, 2047.
But see, on the flip side of the people who are crying and boo-hooing, they're upset that that's a possibility. They're like, oh, Peter Parker won't be the main Spider-Man. To which I go, good. We've had this character for 40, 50 years. It's only been, I say, quote unquote, recently, since, Edge of Spider-Verse and the Spider-Verse, all that stuff has only happened recently. If he, and according to the way how bad he's doing right now in comics, let that boy breathe. Like, let him go home and
take a break.
Actually give him his daughter and all of these things that
Spider-Man
has struggled with. With the comics, with the whole like, oh, he's not married to like, let that boy get.
He got to fight Paul first. Let's talk about Paul.
God, no, we're not.
Let's discuss Paul.
So that's
Spider-Man
one of the reasons why I'm
hate
giving
Peter.
it a 10 out of 10. The second reason is shout out Richard Newby, is a guy I know who writes for Hollywood Reporter, and he did an article this past weekend that kind of blew up with like both the right and the wrong side of people, and it was the fact that Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is basically a slap in the face and basically a no, you're wrong to that subsect of people who believe Peter Parker is the only Spider-Man, or that Miles Morales is just Miles. That's why his name is Miles Morales. He's not really Spider-Man. It's Peter Parker. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. This movie is a middle finger to that concept and basically going, no, this kid, anomaly or not, is the true definition of what like Spider-Man is,
Spider-Man.
And is worthy of holding the title. And I think, aside from the fact that it's a fantastic movie, those two elements is what makes this movie for me like a 1,000 out of 10. Like, this is in 7 years when the new one is already out and we're gonna be able to look at all three. And I'm saying it now, I don't believe the third one's gonna be bad. I really don't. Even if the third one is only. Even if the third one is only as good as the first one, we're golden.
Yeah.
Because this movie is Empire Strikes Back.
Yep.
Yes.
For this generation. That's what this movie is. Because as bad as we thought the cliffhanger was, imagine people first saying Empire Strikes Back and all that stuff. That's basically what it is for this generation. It's like, that's a cliffhanger with evil Miles, who he said it earlier in the movie that's probably a Dominican guy. And Jarrell Jerome is the voice of the new Miles, and he's Dominican. So there was a little like throwaway line in that.
Is the voice of
Jarrell Jerome from When They See Us.
When They See Us, yeah.
Jarrell Jerome is the voice of.
I didn't know
Miles.
Even the way he says Morales. Yeah, that's Jarrell.
I thought it was still
Shamik Moore. Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah, Jarrell Jerome, just for literally that one.
2 lines.
Why would I do that? Yeah, he has like a little lisp and everything. Yeah. Like it's Jarrell Jerome, and so even we could talk about
phenomenal
evil Miles and what's that gonna look like, or like Prowler and all that stuff. Like but that's also like added fluff. The movie's already amazing. You can talk about this movie forever. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you could take, like you said, take the multiverse aspect out and give me like even the first before the Spot, because what the Spot does in this movie is he hits the Morphin Time jaunt, and he gets big, and he basically pulls the movie up to his level of like, now the threat is massive. Okay, we got to get ready to deal with this. The first 30 minutes is just Miles trying to go after a villain of the week, dealing with his parents, school, Gwen visits. If you just give me an hour and a half of that, I am beyond satisfied.
Yep.
Of him like trying to balance relationships, his family with the party thing, where the DJ was trying to turn the music up as his parents were getting loud. Like, give me an hour and a half of that. I'm golden, man. Because that's just like every day. But again, like you can talk about this movie forever. But Matt, go ahead.
Man, this is gonna be my second 9.5 to 10 rating for the year. We've been pretty up there as far as movies until we got to like Shazam, where my rating. Oh no, scratch that. Black Adam, where my rating went to like a 4. I think that's the lowest.
Would you? So what's the other one? Is it John Wick 4? Is the other
John Wick? I think John Wick 4 was my other 8 to 9, but Guardians 3 was my 9 to 10. My other 9 to 10.
Okay.
Those were my top 3, and then Creed 3 was close behind because I just enjoyed the crap out of Creed 3 till Jonathan Majors thought he was doing this in real life, and allegedly.
Don't let me get on my horse because again, allegedly, but Ezra Miller gets another movie. Like, but we could talk about that. Time.
Trust me, you got to come back. You got to come back for the Flash episode because I'm gonna say some things. I'm gonna cook. I'm excited, but I'm gonna cook.
Ezra Miller's not a legend. That motherfucker, they did that shit.
Conviction.
I know. But again, like I said it when they pushed the movie back a year. Was that what's going to happen is obviously they're not going to do any press, but it's going to be the promotion, the press tour is going to be a rehabilitation
for their
tour event.
And they did exactly that.
And it's going to be 100% the very first thing that came out. Well, yeah, we know about the stuff that they've done, but they are fantastic at this movie. That is a huge gap to step over to try and hand this person another role. When there's just a pit of you kidnap somebody, legitimately
assaults and the cult thing and the harassment. I'm like, bro, come on.
That'll be a slap in the face for them when that shit.
Hey, the rating said it was at 69% too. Let me not get too deep. We're over here about to start turning up on the Flash.
We gotta stay happy. We gotta stay happy. We on Spider-Verse, man.
Spider-Verse. I give it definitely a 9.5 to a 10, man. Like I said, this movie was phenomenal. I saw it with my girlfriend, and we're just sitting there like, this. How do you consistently make good films? I need Fast and Furious to take notes. I need Marvel to take notes. I need DC to take notes before they launch the DCU for good, officially launch it. Please, this is the blueprint now. Make good films. Make we say this every week. We talk about something good, or even we talk about something bad. Competent teams are in charge of these productions, and that's why we get good quality movies, good quality shows, where we can have these long drawn out episodes of our channel praising good films. I don't want to keep having to slander everything, every other week. It's fun sometimes. It's fun. I mean, sorry to Black Adam and Shazam.
Don't say sorry to them. They don't deserve it.
When I say sorry, I don't mean sorry like I'm sorry. I mean sorry but you're about to get cooked. That's exactly what I mean.
I've said it to a friend of mine. There have been 3 movies over the past year or 2 that I've been the movie opens and I'm just smiling because I'm like, oh my God. It's been Spider-Verse, it's been Dune, and it was the Batman. Those 3 movies. The Batman, the first 2 minutes, I'm like, he about to kill that man. And I'm happy because I see the dude and I'm seeing him and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in here.
When bro
and
said,
as soon as the
I was like,
as soon as he does the whole October 29th, I'm like, yo, they're doing the churn, and I'm like, I was just sitting back. I was like, oh, I got 2 hours of this. I was happy, and I was like, only been 3 movies that was kind of when you watch the clock, you'd be like, man, I don't really want to stop. I don't want to go home. And Spider-Verse is 100% one of them.
That's exactly right. And in contrast to the other stuff we talked about earlier this year, just going off of Marvel properties, if you will. I think the only other one that besides Guardians, because that's the most recent one I can think of, the only other one that we had decent praise for was Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Everything else, we've been cooking up, we've been chopping it up, Ant-Man, Quantumania. I had so many high hopes
on Ass-Man,
and then Louis gonna blow up. Louis gonna go Super Saiyan.
Don't say the name that shall not be said.
The director name, he who shall not be mentioned.
The last two projects that I think they've actually attempt to be, and again, I chalk it up to the directors and them let's take time with this, is Wakanda Forever and Shang-Chi. Are the last 2 that were Shang-Chi was let's stay in this world, let's get into actual Eastern films and how they're made, and
real
had, the wushu.
Eternals is slept on.
Eternals. I always tell people Eternals is my one that I look at everyone. I'm going, you want to know why a lot of these movies all look the same? Is because you didn't like the way this panned out, and you didn't like the way it looked, even though it was let's do a drama story over time instead of a comic book story first.
Let's do it. Let's tell an epic film. Let's make a film
exactly.
epic.
It's like now I look at movies, like I look at the Flash trailers, and I'm like, it ain't Makari running and trying to beat up what's her name. Because Super Speed ain't look as good as I saw in that Eternals movie.
When she was putting the paws on Icarus,
work on that boy again,
like texting that man.
That's how Super Speed looks.
Let me back up. Not even just that. The super speed of her running across the globe.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying, bro.
She was doing, and then here's Ezra.
Yeah,
and
no, bro. Even in the new movie, that boy had the lenses come on, and he said.
I said, and she's beautiful. Come on, bro.
Yeah, and the sign language, like the actual, like all that was just like,
come on, bro.
Flash, y'all made me watch Eternals again.
It's good.
Y'all making it sound real good.
It's a good movie.
Meanwhile, Ezra,
homeboy Gilgamesh, who's homeboy from
pose. Train to Busan.
Like it's a good movie.
Don
Lee out here smacking mom. Like it's a good movie, man.
Bro.
Okay. It was just really well done. I mean, the
Transformers.
You sexy.
Yes.
Come on.
So, just like we said, man, I want all these studios to take notes on Across the Spider-Verse. That's the blueprint. I hope someone in the Transformers world saw the blueprint and made this movie that's about to come out. Because look, man, we said this. We said this before we started recording the episode. Michael Bay's, and I'll let the first Transformers get a pass, but everything 2 through like 5 was all 2 through 5 has done irreparable damage to the brand and to the franchise. Yeah. I can't look at Transformers like in a good light. Now, Bumblebee did start giving me hope. Bumblebee was great. I had so much fun. And then I heard this was coming out. I'm like, Beast Wars?
So what do you want to know? What do you want to
know? The moment they put Mark Wahlberg in those films, that's how I knew the franchise
downhill.
was cooked.
Yeah.
Downhill.
So this is
downhill.
This is what I think. You say? I recently went back and rewatched Transformers, right?
The first, all the way through, all 5?
All the way through, because before I saw the new one.
I'm sorry for you, bro.
I feel the same way about it as Fast and Furious. Like, it's just like, yeah, it's something on TV. First one, solid. Can't touch it. Linkin Park at the end. 10 out of 10. Drop the mic. We out of here. Like, it's a great first step.
Peak 2007.
Yeah, peak 2007.
Elite.
If you didn't know, the writer's strike happened after that. That's one of the reasons why 2009 Transformers is not good. It's because it's, how can we do this without them? Let's make the robot try to hump the girl the whole movie. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Dude.
Let's give the giant robot balls on top of the pyramid. It's literally fever dream. What do we do?
They took 14-year-olds on Reddit and said, "Go write this movie."
And that's what happens with the second one, right? The writer strike's over. They try to like rebalance with the third one. The third one's one of my particular favorites because it kind of like
it's pretty good.
It kind of like tries to like, all right, there's craziness. We have to acknowledge that. But what if Leonard Nimoy was the villain and was evil?
Sentinel.
And stuff was on the dark side of the moon that we never found. Like, it was trying to get that balance of like, we want to pull you back in. And so to me, the third one, I'm like, okay. And then the fourth one happens. And I'm like,
the car, Mr. Hate Crime himself was in it.
And I'm like, little Jimmy, halfway through the movie, I'm like, I don't want to finish this, but I did, right?
There's like a scene that's in there that every single time that movie is brought up and any time that I've watched it, I just wonder, like, this is a weirdly specific line that they could not have put in unless somebody in the writer's room or in the executive office was really weird. There's a scene where Mark Wahlberg explains, he explains to the dude, his daughter's girlfriend, like, hey, you are 20, you're like 19 or 20, she's 17, this is weird, you can't do this. He pulls out a laminated, like he went to an office, like a FedEx Kinko's, looked the clerk in the eye, slid the card across the counter, and said, "I need this laminated." And they definitely read that shit. It's like definitely in their system, and they're probably not thinking like, "We should call the police on this man. He's not right." But he has this card in his wallet, and he brings it out and slides it across to Mark Wahlberg like it's a winning hand in fucking poker. It is upsetting. It's like,
see, the flip of that one, like it's weird because the last two are not good, but they have weird redeeming qualities in them. Where it's like Is 4 Galvatron? I'm pretty sure it's Galvatron stuff.
4 is Galvatron because Galvatron, 4 had arguably one of the coolest antagonists. Lockdown. That boy's so clean.
Dude with the gun for face, right?
Well, his face.
So that joint was clean.
Gun come out of his
Came
face.
out on the street, shot Optimus in the chest. That was
straight beef. He was ready for all. He was with all the action, with all the smoke.
And that's why I'm
bro,
like,
this is a real Decepticon.
And then was that one also the dinosaurs, the Dinobots?
That's the last.
No, that's 4. That's 4.
That's the Age of Extinction. Yeah,
so,
that's when Grimlock.
All the stuff from like Stanley Tucci too, where he's like trying to move out of the way, the Asian people are in the way, and he's like, move. What's like all that's like? There's some funny stuff. Overall, it's just and then the last one's just like we don't care. Knights of the Round Table, a submarine, like they're just throwing stuff at the wall. What if the Earth is actually Unicron? Like they're just throwing stuff at the wall, right? Like crazy.
They knew, I think they kind of knew. I think they knew that they were done. Like they knew this was about to get rebooted. So like, let's do whatever. They saw Fast and Furious doing anything crazy, and they did whatever.
Literally. Bumblebee, great. Let's take all of that away that made it suck, and let's make it just about these 4 or 5 people, and let's make it emotional, right? This movie takes place afterwards.
Isn't it like 10 years after or 6?
1994.
So then it'll be 8 years after.
Because it takes place in like 85, doesn't
80
it?
something, right? It was 84, 85.
85,
Bumblebee?
I think.
In Bumblebee?
Yeah.
I think it's about 9-10 years after. Because I think it takes place in like the late 90s, late to mid 90s.
So this one I say, this movie is, what if we made Bumblebee a little bit more fun and injected a little bit more action? That's what this one is. It was 87 on the pendulum. It's not let's go to Bay style, but it's not let's stay in this quaint little quiet place. It's somewhere in the middle where it's like, let's take this style, but let's move it to Brooklyn. Let's give it some hip hop underlay. Let's get Biggie. Let's get some hip hop feel to it. Let's get a lead who's really good, Anthony Ramos. And believable in that stuff. Like he's just like a good, like he's
Anthony
a cooler
Ramos.
Shia LaBeouf. Like he's basically that. He's a cooler Shia LaBeouf in 2007. Let's give that lead that
without
Dominic
all the
Fish
issues.
back. Yeah, exactly. We're not gonna get into that.
Besides
and then it's like
the scandal.
Let's make this fun. Let's add in the Maximals. And one of the cool things was the producer told us like this is where this is part of a Optimus Prime arc, is what he said.
Yeah.
It was like, you don't really do that. You don't see that a lot, period. But he was like, Bumblebee, this movie is Optimus Prime's arc from Optimus Prime, I guess, animated, movies, and then never hearing about him to becoming the leader that you see in the first Bay movie, is what the producer said to us. So, like, I think they count this in line with the Bay movies, even though when you watch it, you're like, it has a distinct style where it's not.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where there are things in a movie that make you go, if you think it's connected to the Bay movies, you can draw those conclusions yourself. We're not going to come right out and say, oh my gosh, in the phone book, it says Wiki. We're not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be one of those
Marvel Easter egg. Easter egg where it's like he's standing there and you see, I don't know, Sam's dad and his mom going on a vacation, something like that.
The post-credit scene, you see this white guy come up to you see him come up to a hotel clerk, and he's like, "Oh yeah, room for 2. Can I get the name, please?" Yeah, Witwicky.
And
then that's how. And then
that's a weird name. Lincoln and then Park. The glasses, and then it's over. Yeah, Lincoln Park.
Lincoln Park plays.
But this, like I said it before, this movie is fun. It is not a perfect movie. It's not a great movie. It's a really good movie. It's one of the best Transformers movies for sure.
Yeah,
that's not hard. That's not hard bar to clear.
It's not saying much, but
I've made TikToks on the podcast account that are much better than all those Transformers movies.
I think it's legitimately it may be Bumblebee in this movie and then Transformers 2007 or 2007 Bumblebee in this movie. Like it's in the top. Like again, there are 6 movies or whatever, but this is good. And you could tell it's the same. It's Capel Jr. who did Creed 2. You could tell it's his style. Okay. And it makes you go, I want another one, which is good because previously Transformers have been like, I've had enough.
Yeah, you'd be like, another one, as opposed to the reaction with this one.
Creed 2 is the worst of the Creed movies.
Yeah, I know.
That's not saying it's not good. It's just it's not more better than 3.
That's why I said. That's why I said Capo Jr. It's like it's the one that people collectively go, I like the other two more than this one.
Yeah,
but it's not a. This is a horrible.
It's just the part has to clear.
Yeah,
exactly. So I think people are gonna. I think it's going to get a good 2 week running up against the Flash the week after.
Then
the Flash the week after.
I think you said it's. We were talking about it's Bumblebee, Transformers, with the mind you, Spider-Verse is still rocking and rolling.
Oh yeah,
Transformers,
Spider-Verse right now is at 227 million
and counting because that's going up.
When the first one doubled its budget, that's insane.
When the first one got close to 100 total in the 3-month run.
Is that worldwide or just domestic?
That's worldwide.
Crazy.
That's still really impressive.
It got 100, or it got, what did it get? It got like 100 million opening domestic and then 100 million global opening weekend.
Let's go.
Which is like unheard of for an animated film unless you're Mario, right? Obviously, everyone knows what that is. Mario. But like for an animated film animated like that, like it can't be overstated how huge that is for like animation moving forward.
Of course.
Like we said, now I just like if I'm James Gunn, right? You have no yes,
with
you're
Creature
in
Commandos.
charge of. I was about to say you have DCU coming up and all that. Like you have no excuse not to make Creature Commandos look
fire
good.
Oh yeah,
you can make it in the style of Invincible if you want, or in the style of the new Superman Adventures that's coming out for Adult Swim. You can try to do that.
No, don't do that.
You shouldn't have an excuse for your show to be called Creature Commandos to do different things with these characters. You really don't have an excuse. I'm honest.
You could do what was I about to say? I just had a thought and it just went out of my head. Anyways, if it comes back, I'll bring it back up. But we're saying how Transformers is in a weird spot. It can do really well and like still be fighting against a powerhouse film followed by another powerhouse film. Luckily, it's not going to be the worst film of this month because Indiana Jones coming out.
So here's the thing: I don't think that is as bad as everyone is saying.
That's what I'm hoping.
Really?
I do think that
I'm hoping so too.
I think the problem is Disney. Like Disney aired a lot of their stuff at Cannes this year.
That's the
first time like ever.
To premiere Indiana Jones.
Cannes is not a Disney audience.
Nope.
That
is
Asteroid
City audience.
They want Asteroid City, Crimes of the Future. They want
Martin
weird
Scorsese,
Killers of the Flower Moon.
They want that stuff. They do not want blockbuster, big, general audience stuff.
No,
so when they they previewed what else did they preview there? Little Mermaid they previewed there, and it didn't but again that's. The Little Mermaid, they got racist people on the other side of the world that we're not even going to talk about.
Europe is all racist.
Yeah, I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it.
Little Mermaid, Little Mermaid, and not the Flash. What I was just saying, Little Mermaid and Indy are both for general audiences, especially older men for like Indiana Jones. They're not at Cannes.
Nope.
No, like that audience, which is why I'm like, why if you were going to do that, do like Elemental. Which I'm hearing is actually really good.
I heard that too.
I heard it was not that great.
I'm hearing it's really good, but it's also
I think it's gonna be Zootopia level, really good.
So a cool thing that came out was
Zootopia is my favorite.
It's a high bar. I'm not gonna say that, Matt. You may be tripping. I'm not gonna say that.
Listen, I have high faith in that movie. I'm elementally charged up right now.
Oh my god! One of the cool things I read was that Pixar had a rough time. So John Lasseter, all the stuff with him, right?
Yeah.
And then getting purchased by Disney and moving some of those people to different places is why you get so many like sequels and Finding Dory and Incredibles 2 and all this like easy IP stuff to like, listen, it's less taxing on us. And I think the pandemic was ultimately good for them, even though Disney put all their movies on or put all the Pixar movies in Disney Plus. Horrible decision. Because people would have went into the movie theaters to see those. It helped them creatively because after that, like Onward, sure, it's fine. That was the last one that was in theaters. Then you got Soul, Luca, and Turning Red back to back to back. All three different styles is what you would have gotten from Pixar early mid 2000s, late 2000s. And so now that we're going forward with Elemental, like I feel like we're in a good like turning spot for Pixar to be like, all right, let's go back to what we're like known to do. That's me being hopeful. I hope that's the case. I don't know for sure. I know I'm going to see Indiana Jones.
We're
though.
gonna
That's
see.
For sure.
I'm still gonna
He's
watch
fighting
it. Yeah.
Nazis. Why
I feel
would
like
you not
it'll be a
say
good,
it? Like,
it'll be a good conclusion. This is the time to watch this film with everything going on in the world politically. We just need a good Nazi punching.
Harrison Ford
punching
Nazis.
That's why I love the first Captain America for that reason alone. Not even the fact that I love that
beating
character.
the crap out of Red Skull.
He was me. I was like, my God.
I will say.
He threw that dude from the plane into the propeller, and he turned into red mist.
That was insane.
You remember that?
That was insane.
Early Marvel was like, y'all getting
PG-13
his blood. Early Marvel was like, we don't care.
They put
Iron Man, we putting strippers on a plane.
Blender.
We don't care, bro.
Yeah.
Early Marvel was like, we don't care, bro.
I will say though, I am pretty much the only one of the Sinestro core group who believes with his little boy heart, all his hopes and dreams of watching every Transformers series to ever exist since he was a child, that this will be good. I believe in my heart of hearts. It's good. Shut up, Louise.
Graham is there with you. Graham is there with you, bro.
Noise. Graham's there with me, and he's here in spirit. God bless you, Graham, because I know that we have been for so long without good Transformers content. The best Transformers content I've seen. Huh? Was that a Decepticon pun? Ah, there we go. Yeah.
Transformers Prime. That anime has been good.
Yeah,
it's been good.
Yeah, like all of the best. It's been like DC with the Transformers movies, right? All of the best stuff you will see is animated, right?
Yeah.
Even there's even a Netflix series, War of Cybertron, right? That is really good.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. Some people think it's dog shit. I think it's pretty fucking good because it is just bots punching bots, and that's what I want from these movies. I want them to have
real biscuit boppers.
Yeah, real biscuit bop in action, right? But what we've had in the other ones is as great of a technical feat as those are, to where the special effects still hold up today, because it's over 300 moving parts individually animated on each Transformer. That is incredible.
Michael Bay knows how to make a movie look good. That's it. Yeah, it'll look good.
Yeah, but
no, I feel like it looked too busy. In my personal opinion,
it
looked way too busy. You know,
you can't tell what the fuck's going on.
Look at Bumblebee, their transformations, and it had the original. It had that rip. I was like, yeah, that's clean. I like that. Meanwhile, the
sound design's great. Yeah,
they're doing all this just to stand up. I'm like, bro, come on. It's been like 30 minutes, bro. We get it. I understand.
Exactly.
You're a big old robot.
Remember in the first movie when the All-Spark thing went off and all the and the
vending machine
turned into
the microwave was like.
There's so many weird. That's what I'm saying. Transformers is a franchise where you don't even think about the movies. You think about weird moments in the movies that you go
exactly.
What?
But see, that's the thing though. Like it has that giant space robots. That is where this type of stuff is acceptable, and not to jump back into the Fast and Furious tangent. But I'm gonna do it because that just triggered another thought. Why are they doing that kind of stuff in Fast and Furious where it's supposed to be based in reality, quote unquote? Why are we picking up cars? Why are we catching cars on the top of cars, bro? What are you doing? Why does this lady have an iPad and she's driving remote controlling cars out of a parking garage and onto the
speaking of cars, by the way, that's the main thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to like the visuals of this film. All of the designs are their G1 designs. And when I saw that, my little child heart grew 3 sizes. I thought that motherfucker was dead. Turns out he was just taking a nap when I had to pay bills. But man, the fact that they're there, the fact that they're their usual,
you'll love
they give RC the weird Princess Leia bun.
Yeah,
they have Optimus Prime with his normal F-86 fire truck design, where he's just a big box man and he's just fucking chopping. They gave Bumblebee his rounded face, and all the Transformers are colorful. They're not jagged pieces of machinery. They look like what would actually happen if a car formed a body instead of all this weird fucking 3090 graphics card PC bullshit.
Metal Gear, metal, all this stuff. Just
they look like a fucking steampunk creation. Like they don't look like Transformers. And this movie is giving me that.
I think my homework called it a cybernetic abomination. Whenever they were like,
it is exactly what it is. And the thing about that is like pertaining to like the Autobots and like how they've focused more on their designs. It seems like they're also going to be focusing more on not only the Maximals and the Predacons, but also the Autobot Decepticon war and Transformers stuff. The other ones were so saturated with humans and focused so much on what the people were doing. I was fucking pissed. I was just like, oh my God, please get back to the robots punching each other. These people's characters are poorly written. I do not want to hear a single word out of their mouths.
Never
this
again.
One from the trailers, from what I've seen, 2 people.
It's
2
good. You'll
people
like it.
Max. Very minimal amount of humans.
Great.
And I'm
there's
here
a lot
for
of
it.
There's great. The back half of the movie, like the little climactic thing, is nuts.
Yeah,
you will like it. I also think that Transformers. What was it? Which one did they talk about? The Matrix of Leadership. Which one was that?
That's the second one.
That's the second one.
Because that's where Optimus. Like I said, that's where Optimus went ham and fought off 6 Decepticons, then got killed in like 30 seconds.
Just
was
random
like,
stuff that pops in my head. That was like, oh yeah, that was interesting. Like Transformers, realistically, should be where Godzilla and King Kong are right now in terms of how the movies are made. King Kong and Godzilla have been made with care, and they've been made so well, so that you watch Godzilla, King of the Monsters, Godzilla versus King Kong, Skull Island. You watch those, and you go, they know it. Okay, they know. And Transformers should be at that point where it's like,
so should G.I. Joe. They should be there too.
Like held in that regard, but it's not. It's on the Fast and Furious level of like, let's do another one. And it's like, or we like, come on now.
Make it good. Make it more better.
Make a more better version.
More gooder version.
I'm just low-key, my most excited movie now until the end of summer, besides Mission Impossible, is Ninja Turtles.
I agree.
Because they're using that is like similar to Spider-Verse, but they're using more like an actual like
that's exactly
oil canvas like look to
Spider-Verse core.
Yeah,
they've also
the Spider-Verse effect.
Yeah, but let's make it like brushstrokes almost, and it's just like because
it's got a very
like
messy
grimier,
feel.
Yes, on purpose,
grimy.
Like, and then if they're doing like, hey, this is Ninja Turtles in the '90s, whatever, I get it. Like the city at night looks dingy, and I get it. I like that.
Like
style.
New York right now.
It looks good. Yeah, like New York like an hour ago where it looked like Blade Runner 2049.
And
Luis said they had that Mexico filter from Netflix on.
From Extraction.
The sepia filter.
Extraction New York.
I hate it. That was the only thing I hated about that movie. That movie was yellow.
It's really great.
That movie had liver cirrhosis.
Liver cirrhosis. And then fucking psoriasis.
No, liver cirrhosis.
Yellow gingivitis, yellow gums, yellow teeth.
Gingivitis filter.
Man,
so bad.
What with? Oh, bro, did y'all see? I don't know how familiar y'all are with Ninja Turtles lore. Pretty much, if it's a Saturday morning cartoon, I've read almost every comic about it. We cannot go on a
tangent about Ninja Turtles, bro. We need to.
We're gonna save that for the Ninja Turtles video. Yeah, that one's gonna be its own beast. Trust me. I've been sitting there.
This is. I'm gonna say only one thing and one thing only. It's gonna be the shortest thing, like 30 seconds long. You can time me. I swear.
Go.
Scouts honor. Go. All right. They have all the classic villains. They have fucking Mondo Gecko. They have Mantis. They have so many stupid ones. They have Bebop and Rocksteady, and that was awesome. Time's up. That was it.
Bro, realistically, it's only like one sentence you need. It's like Jackie Chan is Splinter. That's all you need to know. And then, okay, ticket.
Black April.
I don't need to know. Yeah, like that's all I need. Like Jackie Chan as a mentor figure.
When does that come out? July?
Right? No, August.
Like the second or the fourth.
First, yeah, it's like the second or the 9th. It's one of those.
I think it's
Blue Beetle's
the 18th.
Okay, Blue Beetle's first. Oh, Blue Beetle's 18th. Okay, so it's Ninja Turtles Blue Beetle.
So we will definitely dive into that.
Y'all ain't ready for
we'll definitely dive right into that. We're gonna cook. I promise you that we've been sitting on a DC episode for a good minute. The first one we're gonna do is The Flash. and then the next one's gonna be clearly Blue Beetle. That's gonna be our knockout of the park. I think we might even just forget that Aquaman existed. I'm gonna pretend that movie's not gonna happen. I'm gonna pretend I'm erasing it from my mind. You know, a little neuralizer from Men in Black.
The first one made $1 billion.
I don't care. It was mid.
Insane, dude.
It was Aquamid. The only good part was what's his name? Orm was the only real good part to me because he was a good villain.
Low key, all of the fight stuff was
Jason
cool.
Momoa,
like the fight cinematography. Yeah. But they had an opportunity where they tried to do it and they were like, because they were going to do a spin-off movie about the trench and all the monsters and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, now I'm in. And then they were like, nah. And I was like, it's the same thing with like Hobbs and Shaw. Like they were like, let's do a spin-off of Hobbs and Shaw for Fast and Furious. I'm like, okay, this one is more like my speed. I feel like the trench could have been that.
More good.
It would have been like, what if Orm and frickin' like Black they would have went all the way to the bottom of the trench and just been darkness and like that could have been cool. Nah.
Yeah.
We need Aquaman too.
Man.
Big mistake. Big mistake.
We need Momoa Man too.
But speaking of mistake, no, I don't have a segue for this, Matt. Just do the conclusion. I thought I was going to think of something clever by the end of that sentence, and I just had to stop it in the middle. I was not going to go anywhere.
Speaking of mistakes, shout out my kid.
All I know, what? What?
If you ever have kids, Luis, they're going to refer to this like 10 years later. Like, my dad was on a podcast. What's this like? Oh my God, why would he say that?
Tomorrow's the Summer Games Fest thing. So all that game news stuff, that's tomorrow.
Need that Elden Ring DLC yesterday, man.
We gonna cook when I see these games. When I finally get PS5 in my house, I need that so bad, bro. Please sign up for the Patreon and support us so I can get a PS5.
Sign up to the
bro, you need to get one. You need to get one before the fall because the new Spider-Man is PS5 only, bro.
Bro, that's this Xbox and this Game Pass stuff. Nah, bro. Listen,
it's not
Microsoft.
It's really
Microsoft.
not.
Listen to me, Microsoft. Listen, y'all gotta do this right.
This is his segue. This is his conclusion.
Sign up to Sinestro Core OnlyFans.
Yes. It is all Luis and pictures of Oscar Isaac. You can do the math of what he does to them.
And Pedro Pascal.
They're both in there. There are some guest features.
All right, let's wrap it
up. Man, just like the Transformers movies, man. There's more than meets the eye to this podcast, and we appreciate you guys listening to the Sinestro Core. Thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on all platforms at Sinestro Core. Stay tuned to everything coming up this year. Like I said, we got a whole lot going on. The summer is packed, and we will be covering all of it.
Well,
most of it within reason, just the good stuff, the more gooder stuff, because I don't have time for that other nonsense. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Hit that like button. Leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to this podcast. Send our podcast to everyone across the Spider-Verse, to all your favorite Cybertronians, to all your Autobots, Decepticons, family, friends, Spider-Cat, mom, dad, Uncle Aaron, Prowler, you name it. Everybody. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time on the Sinestro Core. Peace.